Significant progress was made overnight in plowing snow from the primary emergency routes across the city and in beginning to load the snow in the downtown and Delano districts out of those areas into a snow pile that we have established. The arterials remain slick in places with some remaining snow. They have been treated with salt and sand, but motorists are advised to increase travel time expectations, be able to slow down, increase following distances, avoid braking. Well, you got to brake sometime. Residential streets remain snow-packed. The traffic over them has improved travel in some areas. Residents are reminded that city ordinance requires them to keep sidewalks clear of snow and ice accumulation. The city's construction and demolition landfill, the Brooks Construction Demolition Landfill, remains closed today while they continue to clean up from the storm so that they can be open for normal hours tomorrow. I'd like to thank all of the city employees that put in extra effort and went the extra mile to make sure that the community remains safe during this snow event, now the second largest ever.
Where's this snow pile that you're creating as you remove snow from the main arterials?
Remember where the West Bank stage used to be? Remember where Watkins Metal used to be? It's right in between that. It's the new library site, proposed new library site, McLean Boulevard, 2nd Street.
And we continue to get calls from neighborhood people who say, when are they going to come through the neighborhoods? Could you just explain the city's policy on it?
Our snow removal plan provides for clearing arterial streets and secondary collector streets. We do not plow residential streets, and the reason for that is the difficulty that in itself would create in terms of putting snow against people's driveways and piling it up against parked cars that have on-street parking in residential areas.
And Joey, will you say the sidewalk thing again?
Residents are reminded that it is city code requirement that sidewalks be maintained free of snow and ice, so for safe pedestrian passage.
So the residents have to do it?
Yes, abutting residents.
So if it's in front of your house, you're required to scoop that snow?
Yes.
What if you don't?
You can be fined for it, but more significantly, you create a liability issue for yourself.
And as far as I know yesterday you were doing the snow, the main snow routes, then you do the secondary ones, and then finally
the school routes.
The school routes are last.
Right, and school routes are for those schools that are located on residential streets and residential neighborhoods so that we can get access to the schools. At this point, we do anticipate remaining in 24/7 operation throughout the weekend in order to get to the secondary routes and the school routes before school time on Monday morning, and also because of refreeze concerns. And there's another weather system that's forecast for Sunday evening, Monday morning, that apparently the models don't agree on, and we don't know if it's going to be rain or snow yet.
So does that mean the 12-hour shifts remain in effect?
12-hour shifts remain in effect.
You still have the outside contractors from yesterday working with you, or have they dropped by the wayside?
We used the outside contractors last night. We're in the process of deciding now whether or not to use them again tonight. We hauled over 500 dump truck loads of snow out of the downtown area to the snow pile, and we're almost halfway through. It's an amazing storm.
Did you say 553 loads?
I did earlier, and I'm not sure I've got the last two digits correct, so my on-air point is over 500 loads, because I know that's right.
And those loads would be like semi-loads, or?
No, they're dump truck loads, tandem axle dump trucks and single axle dump trucks, so they're big trucks, but they're not semis.
Obviously, I mean, you got to move that out of the way, or you'll just create more traffic problems or obstacles.
There's not enough room in the downtown area to be able to accommodate the buildings that are built to where the sidewalks start, the sidewalks end where the street starts, so there's simply no place to store this amount of snow downtown without taking up parking places and or travel lanes.
How long has it been since you've had to do something like that?
About 3 years since the last time we've had to load out downtown. And it wasn't news then because we got it done one night and it was like the snow fairy, just moved the snow out while everybody was asleep.
And Joe, where you're making this big pile of snow, is that gonna just melt down into the river then? Is it close to the river?
Well, it is close to the river, and all of our drainage, storm drainage from all sites across the city eventually ends up in the river or its tributaries and then into the river. So the actual answer is yes. But we specifically don't dump into the river like we did many years ago because of the salt and sand that's mixed in with the snow. By putting it on this separate site, as it melts, the water will tend to be carried off, but the site itself will filter the salt and sand that will be left behind.
What'll you do with that? Will that then be collected, or?
No, it isn't visible at that point. I mean, there's nothing to collect. It looks like the lot did before. There's a lot of sand in Wichita anyway.
Well, I know that you guys have your street sweepers that go out to sweep up sand after
Yes.
major storms.
Right.
I was just wondering if.
Yeah, and it's not an issue once it gets on that site. But yes, you're right. After we finally get done fighting this storm, then they'll be cleaning up afterwards.
So you're expecting the schools to be in session on Monday morning, and that's why you're working through the weekend, 24th?
My expectation is to have the streets ready for schools.
And Joe, do you have enough supply still in case we do have another round of this over?
We've already reordered salt and sand mix, and it's on its way to us. So our supplies are low compared to what we had before the storm event, but that's not an unusual occurrence in a storm of this magnitude. We'll get resupplied, be ready.
So
Yeah,
if
you
Monday,
don't
if Monday is a snow event where you need to be out there again, you've got enough?
Yes. Yeah, we don't anticipate running out of material at this point. And this snow event that's forecast for Monday doesn't look anything like the one we went through. But it does, unlike the teaser ones that we had in the weeks preceding this, it does look like it's another significant precipitation event, which is good news all the way around.
But not as bad.
But not as bad, right. And remember, this 14-plus inch snowstorm is 1 to 2 inches of moisture, so that's a great amount of moisture, but it's a huge amount of snow.
So we'll take a few more questions, and we want to remind you all that Joe is not a meteorologist.
I am a physicist.
Joe, I
Full
was
disclosure.
just gonna ask you, have you guys figured up overtime yet?
No,
on the
we haven't.
storm? Okay.
Neighborhood associations are real popular today, and snow removals for sidewalks and that kind of thing are popular, or that's part of their duties, but street snow removal, there's problems with homeowners associations hiring that out, isn't there?
No.
Liability issues, there's no?
No. There's not a problem. The problem that homeowner associations need to guard against is if they are providing snow removal on driveways, you can't move that snow from a driveway or a parking lot into the street unless you're immediately going to remove it from the street. So if as part of the operation you push snow in the street and then you pile it up out of the street, that's okay. But you can't just push it out in the street and let us come pick it up.
So can neighborhoods hire individuals to do street cleaning? Public street cleaning in their neighborhood?
We don't prohibit that.
Joe, could you have an estimate of about where you think you are towards getting the streets ready for school on Monday? Like 70% there, 50% there? You have a rough estimate?
We are getting very close to having the primary emergency routes addressed, except for refreeze spot check issues. At that point, we can move into the secondaries. There's a lot fewer miles of secondaries, and the school routes come right behind that. So over the course of the weekend, we expect to be able to address 100% of the secondary and the school routes.
Are you tired, Joe?
No, do I look tired?
Your folks will still be working 12-hour shifts.
Yes, and I'll tell you, you have this idea that it's hard on them. When I go down and look at all the broken down equipment that's piling up at the central maintenance facility because of the way it's been used in the last week, you realize that same toll is taking place on people, but they're just bucking up and going on.
So you do have a lot of
Yeah,
equipment?
sure. Running this type of operation 24 hours a day, things are going to break.
Then there's a lot of fuel that goes too, right?
Sure.
Any quantities on that? I mean, what does it take, diesel or whatever you use to have any quantities?
No, I don't have any quantities. We'll rack up a little overtime figuring that out. Yeah, we do account for that. I do want to clarify, we do account for that after the fact. Once the event is over, we'll total that up.
And you have a budget for snow removal, right?
We do. There is a budget for snow and ice removal, but it does not dictate our operations because we'll do whatever needs to be done. If we underspend it, it goes back into the general fund. If we overspend it, we make budget adjustments later. We don't stop doing snow and ice if we're out of that budget.